Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hotline League episode 93. I am so excited to be here as I've returned from TwitchCon. Mark has also returned from TwitchCon. We've got a lot to talk about on the show tonight. We've got, by the way, how's it pronounced? Oppo? That was announced as a sponsor last night, a cell phone manufacturer who makes smartphones.
Really?
Yeah, it's a global sponsor.
Where the fuck is this?
All right, Mark, we got to keep going. Also, we've got top 20 that has been announced. We have, let's see, we have Evil Geniuses joining the LCS officially. We have No Worlds theme from Riot. Looking forward to the call tonight about that, because I'm sure there will be one. I mean, sorry, there's not one. It's just not out yet. Papa Smithy will be casting Worlds 2019. That's a hype. You don't care about Papa Smithy? I'm sorry.
We always cast Worlds. It's not news. Hey guys, they're gonna hand out a Summoner's Cup at the end of Worlds this year.
No, but I think. Well, we can talk about what. Well, I'll get into it. I actually do have an interesting sort of tangent about that. And by the way, it might be a bit of a shorter episode because Worlds hasn't started yet, but I do think there's going to be some fun calls tonight as we get into the open call session. I do want to give a shout out to both Alienware and Movement for sponsoring Hotline League. They're our official partners for this evening. No smartphone manufacturer for this show. Either way, Mark, how have you been?
When's the Alienware gaming phone coming out?
I don't. You should ask them. Tweet at Alienware and ask them when their gaming phone is coming out. Mark would like you to find out. The Louis Vuitton sponsorship, I think we talked about on the last episode, right? Did we not?
I think that was 2 episodes ago.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, because it got announced when I was in Mexico, and then we've done a show since then. So, wake up, Twitch chat. All right, let's get going. But Mark, yeah, how was your past weekend? I know we were both at TwitchCon. We did a little bit of a show at the Alienware booth, but how was the rest of it?
I didn't do anything at TwitchCon at all. I didn't go to a single party. I went to the partner lounge twice to get coffees because they had a Starbucks. That was sick. Great job, Twitch. Keep that up. I did the event. Twitch Rivals was really dope. I really enjoyed it. It was probably the best show matchy experience I've ever been a part of. The Tyler 1 versus Mo Yasuo games were sick. The actual TFT game was really close. A lot of hype moments in that, so it was really, really cool. And then I left Saturday night after I finished that and just came home and didn't even go Sunday. So.
Yeah. There's a lot of people in the Twitch chat right now going, Twitch chat lame as fuck. TwitchCon Resident Sleeper would love to hear from any of you people that are sitting there criticizing this fun event that happened. But no, you won't call in. You're just going to be in the Twitch chat being cowards like I know you are. It's your call-in show. You could try to make it on. Jesus. All right. Anyway, so I really enjoyed it. Should I talk about my experience as a competitor, my first experience?
Yeah, your first time doing anything with your life?
So actually, I think that it was... So for those of you that don't know, I got to compete in the TFT Twitch Rivals because they had an open bracket available to all affiliates and partners. Now, originally, my goal was to get into the main event so that Mark and Kobe would have to cast me because they were casting that. Then later on, I found out that it wasn't that I needed to place top 12 out of 64 players. It was like 130 something players in the open bracket. And I was like, okay, but there was a winners section of the open bracket. So you win the first 2 rounds, or you place in the top 2 by points. In the first 2 matches you play, you get to move on to this elite section of the open bracket. That qualifies you in. I made it into the second stage, which was really exciting. I just realized we're in the just chatting category. Need to fix that.
What are we supposed to be laying down on a couch? You see, that's the new meta.
Yeah. Anyway, and so no, I did not play Loco, though I did make it further than Loco, I believe. I don't think he made it into the. In fact, I know he didn't make it into the winner. So I outperformed Loco at an esports tournament. Take that, all you Listen Loco lovers. But I just thought it was super cool. So for some context for people that didn't see the broadcast, I thought that for the open bracket they were going to be shoving us into some ballroom somewhere with a bunch of computers. But what was super cool was, and props to Twitch, I don't know how much Riot was involved in this. I know NG handled the production, but it was a super cool experience for anybody in the open bracket because they basically had a stage that kind of was like a layer cake where there's this top part and then rings of computers below it.
It's like a
And
battle royale setup. If you've ever seen like the 360 battle royale setups.
yes. And so what was super fun for me was, and I think all the other people, if you're in the open bracket, you're not just like going into some poorly lit ballroom. You're on the stage and like the crowd is in front of you, and they might be cheering about like the stuff that's happening in the middle where they were doing like the Tyler One Mo stuff or Yasuo stuff, but you actually felt like you were on stage, and everybody was streaming to their own channels too. So you also had like the audience of your own channel, and I just was like a really really fun experience. And listen, I know that the what I did does not compare at all to like being on stage at Madison Square Garden, but it was a really fun way for everybody in the open bracket to feel like there were some decent stakes, you know, sitting on stage and the lights on you and the audience is going crazy and all this stuff. And then it was super fun because you guys, so it was just very coincidental, but Dash and Kobe, who were casting the league thing, they were sitting in front of me at the top of the stands doing the casting, so they could turn around and see me as I was competing. And then Mark and Ovely were filling time over at the TV, and so I felt like you guys had inadvertently made me the story of the open bracket or the narrative, because they kept turning around. Dash and Kobe would turn around and look at me and be like, Travis is still in it, he's going for it, blah blah blah. Kobe was like, Travis has been super nervous, he's been talking about this all the time. You guys all flamed me on the cast, which I thought was maybe not supportive and also not very helpful. Whenever I'm trying to focus on the game in front of me, I just hear your speakers booming out rude things about how much I suck at TFT.
Well,
But
that was probably one of the only quote unquote problems with the whole event, was that like the competitors like headsets were not soundproof kind of headsets, so they could easily hear us when we talked. Now, luckily, this is not supposed to be like uber competitive crazy event, so it actually led to a lot of hilarious moments where like, you know, we'd be like, all right, and we're checking in with this guy's Toast. What is he doing? He's got this. Oh, he's doing that. And then like halfway through, Toast would realize that he's on the main screen and it would be like, hey crowd, should I do this? And like the whole crowd would like go crazy trying to give him advice and stuff. So normally what would be a hindrance actually led to a lot of cool moments.
yeah, you know, I really enjoyed. I mean, yeah, I thought like there was definitely a lack of competitive integrity because like also all the people playing in the TFT thing had access to their Twitch chat. And so, like, at one point in time, and I lost this game anyway, but Saint came in and he's like, you should pivot from Blade Masters to Shapeshifters. Like, thanks, Saint. And my chat, I honestly, a lot of the time, the backseat from the chat was not great, but oftentimes it was really fun. So, I don't know. I just, either way, it was still really fun. And it was great, too, with my chat just kind of like, they were along for the ride with me. I just thought it was a great time. And for me, it was a really unique, the first time ever, time where I've like competed in an event, and it kind of gave me like the barest, briefest glimpse of what it's like to be on the other side of what I cover. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was one of those. I think that you becoming the story was pretty funny. How like we were just like, well, we got to fill for a bunch, so Travis check.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, let's check it. Travis in the open bracket. That's so funny. Nice tweet, Mark. Anyway,
you like it?
Yes. Yeah, great. Really supportive. So anyway, I had a good time. Also, Twitch chat is saying that Thorin quit in the middle of.
Yeah, I tried to go into the VODs while you were talking to see, but Loco has it on subscriber, and let's be honest, none of us are going to sub to Loco for context.
Thorin quit in the middle of Listen Loco today, and it might be the last show.
I saw his tweet earlier today where he was like, "Fuck Fnatic fans," basically. Let me go pull it up so I'm not putting words in his mouth.
Was it because Fnatic fans were in the Twitch chat, like raging at them?
Must be. He said, "Listen, Loco is cancelable world. If it isn't Fnatic fans, then it's TSM fans crying every single episode in the comments. I've got better things to do."
Yeah. Look, he's also complaining about EU fans
and TSM fans. So
it's true. I just think it's funny. Well, if we've outlasted Listen Loco, I'm
no
not
one's surprised.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it is. He was bitching about doing a play in Listen Loco.
Who knows? At the end before he left. Okay. People are linking. Yeah, I don't want to put the clip on the show.
I'll watch and tell you if there's anything interesting. Hold on. Don't talk for a second.
Okay. Podcast. I can't talk on my own show.
90%, why have you booked that studio for? 90% of this episode is like, you two know that you've never heard of, right? But really, that, we have to do it. And then, why not?
Sorry, podcast listeners. Enjoy this audio.
Actually, you should be able to talk. I'll just mute. This is a longer clip than I thought it would be. I'll just mute my Discord.
Okay.
I
Mark is doing some
this. I'm out. So yeah.
Mark is doing some investigative journalism right now. I love that we could hear. I couldn't hear anything he was saying, but just like the muffled anger from Thorin. Let's see. Baronitis says, "Did you win any money prize at the tourney? Click, you got 825 out of it." No. If I had just made it into the next stage, I would have been in the main event with like Hafu and Dog and all those guys. And I would have gotten at least 200 because the least amount of money you could possibly make, I think, in that was $200. But no, I didn't make any money. But honestly, like, I know this is gonna sound like the thing you say when you lose, but the experience was absolutely invaluable. Like, I don't even care about the cash. Like, the fact that I had that, it's definitely gonna be a highlight of my year. Listen, if there's a chance for you to go compete in something that you think you might be decent at, like a video game or whatever, highly recommend you go to like a local event because it's super fun. And obviously I've played.
Damn, that was fun.
Oh wow, you got really loud, Mark.
Sorry, it was. I came out of their hyphiness into you probably being chill. You know.
Yes. Yeah. What?
So you're listening to an argument, and you turn to like your significant other who was on the couch not paying attention, and you're like, "Wah!" and they're not ready for it.
Yes. That's how I feel. Your significant other. Blah. Anyway, what's the lowdown?
Okay, so it wasn't as much about Fnatic fans as far as I could tell. Basically, they had just finished an episode, and Thorin was not pleased with the quality of the episode. It was about play-ins, and apparently they just had like no topic list, and Loco like hadn't prepped for it, so like there wasn't much to talk about, and they were just all over the place, and it was shit. And then Thorin just kind of went on like a mini tirade about like how annoying it all is, and then like he was like, I don't even need to do one for Worlds because here's what's going to happen. Then launched into like a little tirade about that, and then I think he just like dipped out.
Well, see, this is the thing. You and I set our expectations to the idea that we won't be prepared at all and we'll have no topics and that it'll be a disaster. And like, we just embrace that. That's the problem. Like you need to have that expectation and you'll be great.
Yeah. See, we've outsourced all of our ideas and content.
Yes.
So we just have to be reactors.
That's why this show is so genius. It's like the people call in and then they've got the topic list.
Yeah, so it was pretty entertaining. It wasn't as much about ranting about fans as I thought it was, or based off like his tweet made it sound. It sounded like it was more directed at Loco for like. And what was funny is that Loco's like, we have to do a play-in show, and Thorin's like, why? That's how I'm kind of like, you know what, Thorin? That's a great point.
We'll get some good calls. Oftentimes, our best shows, you and I, are those shows where we don't expect as much. But here's what I will say, and it's I praise you, Mark, only as a means of making poking fun at our two competitors here. But I would always want a constant co-host to be you, Mark Zimmerman, never Loco or Thorin, and perhaps that is why those two have. I feel sorry for them because both of them have to do the show with the other one. Is the way I would put it.
All right, you're pretty great too, buddy.
You're my best pal. All right,
yeah.
let's get into.
Alrighty.
Let's get into the show. Do you want to explain how the show works?
Yeah, so if you guys have never seen the show before, it is a live call-in show like you heard us kind of talking about because we don't want to do any work for preparation. So go ahead and join that Discord to provide us with content. When you get in there, there's a pleb topics and subtopics text channels. That's where you're going to put what it is that you want to talk about. Just type it up. If we find it interesting, we will pull you from pleb calls into the waiting room where you'll hang out until it's your turn. We'll do a quick audio check then, make sure everything's working, and then get you into the on-air room.
Good. And if you are a sub, by the way, feel free to access the subtopics channel. You'll be able to put your topic in there, and it moves a little slower, so gives you a better chance of landing your way onto the show. By the way, Mark, you know the other fun thing that was fun, and I wanted to ask you about this. I know you're going through topics, so who knows if you're going to be able to hear any of this. But last night for the 2-hour drive back to LA, because Brodin and I decided to just do it early instead of today, we spent almost the entire time talking about the Gaffies.
Yeah,
the next show, which will probably take place in January, and we have some really great ideas. And I'm wondering. I mean, obviously you don't need to, but if you want to be part of the writers' room, if we want to do a writers' room for the Gaffies and you want to be one of the writers for it and brainstorm with us, it's actually such a fun show to brainstorm for. So feel free we can talk about that later, but everyone can be excited about it. Also, we were thinking we could premiere the scene. You know how I accidentally leaked the name of the show.
Yeah, I was about to say. Are we talking about that?
We can special project we're working on. You know how after award shows, it's like, and stay tuned after the Oscars for the premiere of Scrubs, the season premiere of Scrubs, airing directly after the Academy Awards. We were thinking, what if we aired or premiered the scene immediately after the Gaffies? We can run an ad for it during the Gaffies.
That'd be an interesting idea. When are the Gaffies? Isn't that kind of late?
January, but I figure we won't shoot the first episode or the pilot episode of the new show until November. We can edit it in December while we're working on the Gaffies, and then we can start running promos for it on, I don't know, Hotline League and stuff, and then it all happens on one night, which would be really fun. So anyway, let's see. Oh, by the way, I've got a fun video for the Alienware break. You guys, Twitch chat, you can stay tuned for. Mark, do we have some callers?
It's going pretty slow right now. Sorry.
Is it because people don't have good takes, or because there's not that many takes?
There's a fair amount of takes that are just generally talking about Worlds, but we've done that enough now that I don't want to inundate it again with like this team's gonna do this. Yeah.
Try to think of something, guys. Some big topics for this this evening: the EG stuff, maybe a little bit of plans. Any of the general conversation around Worlds, what you're looking forward to, the new sponsor, for instance, for global events, that type of thing. I gotta spill time right now. Trolling, I'm fun. Thank you for the Twitch Prime. And this is when I get angry and yell at Mark and say, "We can't get the callers fast enough. I'm done with this show." Burnt Cooler, thank you for the 11 months.
Let's abandon ship.
It's gonna be a good episode. I can feel it in my bones. Also, as I said, I've got a fun little video to show later on in the stream. Travis, can you leak the Worlds theme? I don't have it. If I did, I would. Fake Twitch drama, Pog. 3 teams sacked their coach right before Worlds. We talked about it a little bit at the Alienware booth this past weekend.
Someone say 3?
Yeah, I think it's only 2, and I think one of them is not actually
Yeah, who's the third? Damn one? What?
RNG IG Griffin is RNG's just a troll thing. That's what I thought. Yeah, the stake thing was a meme.
People just have no reading comprehension.
Yeah.
Or English isn't their first language, and it's not their fault. But I like to assume the worst in people, so they have no reading comprehension.
Right. Yeah. Do we have a caller? Can we pull one of these people in the waiting room?
Oh, fine.
I want to get the show going. Mark is
one of them is muted. Hey, if you're in the waiting room, please, Kennedy, if you want to unmute. There we go.
Nice. Glad we got that figured out. Really quickly, some shout outs to some folks who subbed. We've got St. Louis Slayer 24, Dude Casey, Ronald Dinho. I already say his name wrong. St. Louis Slayer 24, Rooney 222, and Connor 314. Looks like we got Kennedy here. Kennedy, where are you calling from?
Hey, I'm calling from school. I'm in Indiana, PA right now.
Indiana, PA. Wait, what was the first thing you said? School?
Yeah. I'm currently a student.
Oh, nice. Well, keep your education going. Otherwise, you'll end up like Mark. What is your... What do you... Just kidding. He graduated college. What do you want to talk about on the show tonight?
I actually had 2 takes. I had one on the groups, but I know you guys wanted something else. And we could talk about Griffin's coaching situation, how they just abandoned ship.
Didn't I pull you for a Fnatic point?
Okay, yeah, I did. I know you guys didn't want that, but I did have a Fnatic point too. I think Fnatic's going to be the only group that makes it to semis. That's an EU team, and I don't think G2 will.
The only one that makes it to semis. You think G2 won't make it?
I think they'll get kicked out of quarters because of their variants.
Okay, can you elaborate on this a little bit?
So what's just like Team Liquid, I think Fnatic is exactly like you know exactly what you're going to get from them. And if you take them stats by just the summer of these two teams, they have almost the exact same gold per minute. G2's a little higher by 30. But the gold difference is huge when you compare them to G2. Fnatic is 700, like below them. They're 808, while G2 is 15, but then they're 1500. But the CS difference between both teams are the same. G2 just smashes, and I think their variants in the best of ones will be a lot worse than Fnatic's. And I also think Nemesis is just underrated by everyone. But
I mean, why do you think?
That.
Are you not concerned about the fact that G2 seems to always come out ahead with Fnatic in these best of fives?
Well, considering who they have to play against versus who Fnatic has to play against, I think they'll be fine.
Gotcha.
Most likely. I think.
But we don't know who they'd have to play against in quarters.
Well, if we're assuming G2 Griffin / G2 Cloud9 makes it out, Fun Plus in X Team, that doesn't matter. And then SK Team Fnatic, and then it's going to be TL and either Damwon. I don't see IG making it out of that group at all. It's going to be TL and someone else. Unless Damwon's done it.
To Travis's point, as you said, Group B is Fun Plus Random Team. If Random Team is drawn by G2 makes semis pretty easily, right?
I'm assuming that they will, but even with them, I think their variance is just so high. Like I think they won't care, even if it's like a no-name team. And I think they'll get complacent.
I think the complacency thing, like people seem to keep bringing up the complacency thing with G2, where people I'm not trying to be polite here. For reasons I don't understand, like why do you think they're going to be complacent? I guess is the good way to put it, because it just feels like the complacency thing seems like a thing that I hear a lot of people try to like throw in to solidify an argument, but I haven't really seen. Like I know they like to toy with their meat a little bit, but it doesn't seem like they're a very complacent team.
They played a lot of WoW. Is that the basis of it?
I don't think that's the basis. I think it's because of their high variance of their squad. Caps is either going to pop off or feed. So if he's playing against a no-name team, he might just not care to play at his full potential. While when you have a team like Fnatic, you know exactly what you're going to get. I think Fnatic is exactly like TL, that you know exactly what you get from them.
I mean, TL goes back and forth sometimes too, by the way.
Which is true, but they have same bands. They know their strengths, and they will play through Brox's early game. They'll leave Nemesis to have the early game with Broxa, and then Reckless and Hylissang just need to stay alive. And I think Bwipo is fine too. I think people are undervaluing Bwipo to just stay alive in the laning phase. Like you won't get smashed, but you won't get a lead.
I think this is something I somewhat agree with in the end about like more of a playstyle thing where yes, I think Fnatic is a little bit more rigid, I guess you would say, than G2 is. But they'll play closer to the same level every game. But I don't like tying it to motivation. I think that always strikes me as kind of weird and semi-disrespectful to be like, oh yeah, Caps doesn't care, or he gets complacent, or he gets overexcited. They play a very high risk play style where some teams don't want to take 50-50s and G2 loves to, and I think that's more what it is than any sort of like psychological thing for the most part. But I don't think that it would ever lead to them losing a series versus random play-in team from Group B or something like that.
It also feels like if you're concerned about their consistency, that should be a bigger concern in a best of 1 scenario than in a best of 5.
Right.
Like that's why I'm confused. It's sort of like, well, if they get into best of 5s, they're not a very consistent team. Like, okay, that probably means that they drop 1 or 2 games. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to drop like a series, right?
Well, that's my issue. I can't like I don't want to say confidently that they won't make it out of Group A, but because of their variance, I don't know if they'll make it into semis. Like I don't know if they make it out of groups. Because I don't know about the world's buff for Cloud9. I think that's kind of bullshit. But there's a chance where they don't get out. Maybe Cloud9 pops off during groups. Griffin somehow is actually as good as they say. And then G2 gets out because of their variance.
I mean, Cloud9 is my dark horse in groups. I don't know if that's a fair or applicable term. Also, I am doing some heavy exporting in Premiere right now, so I'm very curious if we're going to drop any frames. But I don't know if that's the right term for like Cloud9. But like, Mark, do you think I can say Cloud9 is a dark horse for me? Is that fair?
Yeah,
Because they're not predicted to get out, right?
Right, in the most literal sense that it is a dark horse, but I think it's everyone's dark horse. You know, like, hey, what's one upset that could happen? You know, like everyone's gonna say that. So it is on a technical, definition correct, but it's not quite like, oh man, I think, I don't know.
It's not a bold dark horse.
Yeah, it's not like I keep wanting to say Albus Nox Luna, but that's not who it is in Group D, and I can't.
Sure.
AHQ.
Yeah.
It's not like AHQ or something you're predicting.
Gotcha. Well, okay, so I look again. Like I can see a world where Cloud9 somehow makes it. Oh God, I can't say this on air. Maybe there's a world where Cloud9 makes it out and G2 something crazy happens and they don't make it out. Okay, well, this video just got disliked a ton, but I do think that I just have a really hard time imagining, like, I think it's just a rough prediction to make that like Fnatic makes it deep and G2 doesn't. I mean, again, it could happen. It's just like it's hard for me to really buy into the idea that that's likely.
No, I think it could easily happen depending on how things break. You know, let's say Fnatic leaves their group number 1 and TL leaves the group number 2, and we get TL versus Fnatic, and then Fnatic beats them in quarters. But G2 leaves group number 2 versus Griffin, and then they get a tougher matchup. Later against SKT or something, maybe, or I don't know, maybe they're number 1 and SKT is number 2, and then they get them. Like, there's a number of matchups that can happen in quarters that cause this to happen. But I think that the group is a lot more difficult for Fnatic, so they have a higher chance of not getting out of the groups than G2. And then I still think G2 is better, and so if they both, could theoretically play the same team, G2 would do better in quarters, I think, as well. So there's a lot of ways it can happen because the bracket, like we've talked about extensively before, is not necessarily balanced all the time. But I still wouldn't expect that to be the case.
I do think that Group C is harder than Group A, but I think that Fnatic has a better chance of getting out of Group C than G2 getting out of Group A because of their complacency and their variance. And because it's a best of 1, and they have to win those off games between the to be determined team that goes in.
See, I have such a hard time whenever you just throw
complacency. Yeah,
it's like complacency and variance. Like they're not a complacent team.
But they are. They drop games to just no-name teams in the EULCS.
That doesn't mean they're complacent. That means they're inconsistent.
It means they're inconsistent at worst. And like, just because you're the best team in Europe and you drop a game, like literally every top team in every league pretty much does that.
To quote Skara about TFT, even the best player in the world will get 8th sometimes.
That's not really applicable, but like I mean, I just don't see how that means complacent. Like, okay, they came in, like, if you want to call it complacency that you drop a game late in a season when, like, for the most part, first is wrapped up or something, sure, but that doesn't mean you're complacent on the fucking world stage months later after months of prep and work and like getting ready for the highlight of your entire year. Those are two different, totally different environments.
But you don't think it matters that they almost lost the EULCS to Fnatic?
I think that matters in the sense that Fnatic's good, and maybe G2 is not as good as we thought, but that doesn't mean that they're complacent.
You would rather. I don't
It
think.
means
I don't think
either
it was.
Fnatic is as good or close to as good as G2, or maybe they're just familiar with them, and so that the pick ban craziness that people expect out of G2 wasn't effective. You can break down a lot about that series, but I don't think you pull complacency out of it from all the things, all the angles to take it.
Yeah, if you called in and you said, here's evidence of G2 doing nothing for just playing TFT for the entire week before finals, I would agree they're complacent. But if you're like, well, they drop games sometimes, I don't think they're necessarily complacent.
Well, I think they almost dropped their first seed, and I think that comes with a little complacency.
We're now arguing semantics, which means we need to move on to the next call. But like, that's not what complacent means. Losing a game does not mean complacent. I lost in the TFT Twitch Rivals this past week, and I was not complacent, sir. Kennedy, is there anything you want to say as we move on to the next caller?
No, you guys have a good night, though. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, have a good one.
Thanks.
I was not complacent.
You were so complacent. I remember talking to you after you made it, and you're like, "I've done pretty well so far."
Okay. Let's. We've got another caller, and then we'll maybe take a quick break here on Hotline League, episode 93. Mark is grabbing them right now. Some quick shout outs to some subs. We got Schleppard, N.A. Alistar, Bruise, TFT, M. Scarcan, Gangfanger, and I think I said Schleppard, but if not, Schleppard. Dr. Manhattan 18, 23 months in a row, almost 2 years. Mark's still grabbing them, so definitely Fretful Winter 2 and Unique Echoes. Z-Force X.
Hello.
Great name. Where? Oh, you have an accent.
Yeah.
Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Sydney, Australia.
Sydney, Australia. Have you called in before? I feel like we get a lot of Aussies because I think we're at a convenient time for you.
No, this is my first time, but I've watched the show a ton. So.
Okay. What time is it there again?
1:30 p.m.
Oh. Do you know who Paladin Amber is?
Not a clue.
Okay. Well, she's Australian. I interviewed her at TwitchCon. Okay, what do you want to
How
talk?
many Australians are there? Like 50?
There's not that many.
It's like one town.
Okay, hang on. I'm going to compare Australia population to California. I bet you
It's a
California.
big fucking place, dude. It's like being like, do you know someone from like random part of California? Do you know everyone in San Francisco just because you live in LA?
Okay, okay, Australia is bigger than California. We have 14 million less people than Australia. I thought California was going to be bigger. Z-Force X, stop typing. What do you want to talk about on the show?
California has more people.
Wait, really? Google
California
is telling
has 40
me
million. Australia
Google
is
is saying
25.
population in California is 37 million, 14 million fewer. Oh wait, I misread the sentence. We do have more people. Why don't you know Paladin Amber? What do you want to talk about on the show?
Okay, so my take was that Griffin releasing their head coach was probably the best decision they could have done going into Worlds.
Okay, I'm excited about this. Explain why.
Okay, so I've been watching for Griffin almost the entire year. I remember watching them at Casper Cup. I was like, oh, who is this team? Honestly, garbage, blah, blah, blah. And then I saw their spring split, and they're pretty much on the track going to 18-0, right? And, okay, they stuffed it up in the end, but they haven't won a single best of 5, I think.
I really love you had such a confident take, and then at the end you ended as a single best of 5. I think
They won one best of 5 in summer last year. Well, no, I was gonna say in summer last year in playoffs. They had a 3-2 victory over someone to get to the finals, where they then lost.
This is a classic Hotline League caller, by the way. Pure confidence with just a tinge of hesitation, so that if anybody calls them out on it, they can say, "Oh, I thought." Anyway.
Okay, so here's my main point, right? In their spring split finals, they played Talia Pantheon bot lane for the first game. That wasn't really the best, I thought. It went pretty bad for them. They sort of just got outscaled very late, and it just went, Second game, they changed it up. that didn't go well for them either. So they went back to the Talia Pantheon. And then in that third game, they got destroyed even quicker, I'm sure. Then we go to the summer finals. I can't remember the exact draft, but they banned LeBlanc, Aatrox, Varus, and then picked Maud, Sejuani, Silas, Xayah, Tahm Kench. They lost. Second game, they banned LeBlanc, Varus, Aatrox, Tahm Kench, Sejuani, and then swapped their jungler Elise for Sejuani, which didn't end up working. Their third game, which I thought was really good, they picked the Elise Renekton combo, which was really, really good. That got a lot of kills. And SKT was not prepared for their Shen pick. And their Shen pick just ran all over the map and just completely dominated Khan, which I thought was really, really good. But my problem is I think the Griffin players have way, way too much freedom on what champs they're trying to pick during a best of 5. And I don't think that CV Max had the right discipline that, say, Koma had over his players.
Well, first off, you're comparing one of the most prestigious coaches. I think it's hard to use that as a baseline. But I hear what you're... So your supposition is they are losing best of 5s because potentially they don't know how to handle draft over a 5-game series, as evidenced by the issues that you have seen, and you think that this would be a huge problem for them going into Worlds.
Yes. Well, the thing is, it's also paired with their inexperience because they've only played like 5 best of 5s, I think, over their whole LCK career, which isn't exactly that much.
Sure, but having a different coach isn't going to give them, like, as a team, more experience unless you're counting the coach's like best of 5 experience.
I think it's more that if the coach can tell the players, no, I want you to play, and have a clear mindset going into the draft, and
I mean, it's one of those things where it's like really speculative, which is why it's tough, because maybe he has not enough control over the draft, or maybe this was his draft plan. You know, maybe this is what he strung together. I mean, either way, then you fire him for it, right? Potentially, but then
it's just weird timing on the firing.
Right, it's weird timing, and the question is, are you getting a better replacement in doing so? You know, is there really a guy who's going to come in a month, and if the problem was that he, wasn't, if the one that they fired, if CV Max wasn't strong enough as leading the team in their drafts, then this guy's going to get the respect and be able to lead them right away. Or maybe he was the one building the drafts, and those were the problems. Is this guy going to come in and suddenly build better drafts for these players? Or, there's also the whole, how well does he know the team and can push them on a psychological level too? Because coaching isn't just X's and O's on the draft board, right? There's a lot of other things that go in.
What if their new coach is Weldon? That was a joke.
Are you asking me?
No, I was asking Mark, but Mark wasn't paying attention. He got distracted.
Well, I didn't know you were asking me. What you said? What kind of coach is Weldon?
No, I said, what if their new coach is? Let's move on.
Okay, sorry, I wasn't listening. Apparently, I wasn't listening.
It's fine. You never are. Yeah, I don't know. I think, look, I appreciate the concept of they struggle in best of 5s at Worlds. In order to find success beyond groups, they're going to have to find success in best of 5s, and thus, coaching is a place to look at that. And I do think that it's likely that, I mean, it's obvious that as an org, they would have more insight into his capabilities as a coach than any of us would be out in the public, especially the Western audience, right? But it's so bizarre to me to do it, as Mark said, right before Worlds, because do we know who they've replaced him with? I don't know if that audience or that information has made it over to the West yet, if it has been released, but I don't know. It's very perplexing. The timing is just the thing that's so strange.
Yeah. And there was like a little bit of a story, because he posted about it and said like that they have been having issues between him and upper management for a little while, and their disagreements and arguments, and the losing that series the way they did, or maybe just losing in general, was this kind of straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really, really wish, like, if they were thinking about changing coaches, I really wish that if they were to do it earlier, like maybe just after the LCK summer finals, because we're on what Mark was saying about how he tweeted out. I think he was tweeting out how he was saying that he's having troubles with the funders or management team, and that if he didn't find success in the summer finals, then they would think about replacing him. So if they were thinking about that, I really wish that they did it just after or like pretty soon after. Or then again, maybe they did and they just didn't post about it, but that's a problem.
Yeah. I don't know. It's one of those ones where maybe it is the right thing, but I feel like we'll only know in retrospect because we don't really have any insight on what's going on with their roster.
Z4X, thanks so much for your call. Is there anything you'd like to say as we move on to the next caller?
No, thank you.
Hey, thanks so much for calling, and keep enjoying Australia, assuming you enjoy it.
Thank you. See ya.
Yeah. All right.
Surprised you weren't like, hey, go find that Paladin girl.
Yeah, that's a good point. Damn, I forgot. Could have helped me out there. All right. I'm going to take a quick break, which means you're going to as well, Mark, and that also means everyone else is going to. But I've got two cool things to share during this is an extra special Alienware ad, because I'm going to show a full. This is a rough cut, or an almost done cut, I guess I should say. That's missing a little bit of polish that we're going to be publishing tomorrow. I know I've been teasing the LPL content. We've been taking a long time to get it out, and there's a couple behind the scenes reasons, some hiccups that we ran into, but it should start coming out this week, and this is going to be one of the first ones. Somebody says, ugh, ads. You know what? Watch this video, okay? This is a fun little video we did where we asked some people and the part of the LPL what they think of the West. So this will hopefully build some hype for Worlds. Well, yeah, what do the LPL fans think of North America?
They are weak.
Yeah, every time I do an interview about LCS, I'm always saying that I'm not shutting down LCS, but
他们非常的舒服。
Yes,
It's totally
it's
different.
so easy. Yeah. Especially in LEC, they play like 2 best of 1 each week. But our players, they play like 3 best of 3 sometimes every week with different cities. You can't even imagine.
因为欧美那边跟 LPL 最大不同就是感觉那边选手可能会有更多的个人时间，然后 LPL 的话会有更多的rank，就一直在进行一个重复的rank。在北美、欧洲那边就是除了训练、游戏，就是还有其他个人生活安排，这是比较差距比较大的。那对我而言是比较想要的生活。
if you do anything wrong in LCS, you don't get punished. That's the problem of LCS, because you don't get punished, or at least properly punished.
On the last game of TSM's group stage, Reginald picked Captain Timo. If you do that in an LPL team,
And if you lose?
you are doomed. Yeah, you are doomed. You are dead, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. How dare you can pick Timo in a world stage?
选手的从业年龄普遍的偏短，你像 W Pico、像 Faker、像 Score 这些选手，他们都打了有6、7年、7、8年这样子。但是我们的现在的主力选手可能是打了2、3年、3、4年，在我们赛区的话，可能他们的职业生涯没有那么长。
LCS 的大师兄算是我很喜欢的一个选手。一个选手能打很多年，还能保持一个高竞技水平，这是一件很难的事情。
W Lift 吧是第一个，因为他跟我都是玩一个位置，然后其他的 Faker， 但那 Faker 不算，那没了。
以前有过，现在没有了。
LEC is the inventor. They invent things. They are just smart and creative.
They have a lot of really fun thoughts. They have a lot of really fun thoughts, but the game is too slow for me.
啊，对他们的看法就有1、2个队伍会特别厉害吧，就比如什么 G2 啊那种，就他也会爆发出来吧。
I think the audience will think LEC is more creative, very awkward or very strange picks, unorthodox picks coming out.
我觉得他们很有想象力吧， 就他们敢于尝试我们很多不敢尝试的东西，然后
我觉得西方的粉丝本身就很有趣，因为我其实蛮喜欢西方的那个粉丝，因为他们真的就是非常放得开，就是玩梗什么的都非常有趣。
I'm not trying to shit on the LCS. No.
Sorry, I'm fixing my Discord stuff.
I'm back.
Okay, I'm back too. So that's just I wanted to premiere that during the Alienware break just to what, Mark?
That guy keeps shitting on the LCS.
Oh, you're really loud. Sorry, I need to fix you. Yeah, I turned all the audio up so that the video, which was kind of quieter than you, and then now you're really loud. Anyways, there's the Twitch chat reaction. Did you like? That's a fun video, though, right? I feel like that's going to be good to release right before Worlds.
Yeah, that was really good.
So anyway, I wanted to air that during the Alienware break because Alienware and Intel were the folks that made that whole thing happen, and so I just wanted to give you guys. I thought it'd be fun if on Hotline League before the video goes live tomorrow, and obviously there's a couple things we need to tweak on it, but we could give you guys a brief glimpse of some of the cool content that we were able to make because of that. The other thing I want to show that is a Worlds related is let me pick one of these. I don't know if I think I am allowed. Okay, these will be the first time that anybody has seen these publicly, I think. They sent them to me today, and I'm hoping that I can tease them and not get in trouble because I don't think it's a secret. But let me pick a couple of these pictures. So I'm going to be doing a giveaway, and I think there might be a couple of them that Alienware is running with some of their partners during Worlds. And I just want to say, so they wrapped an M15 with some of the Worlds art. There's one look at it. Here's another look at it. I think these are pretty cool looking. I think the gold in particular looks really neat on some of these. So stay tuned for how you can win one of these M15s. This is the new notebook that they have, by the way, available now at alienware.com/Travis. But I think, yeah, it's pretty cool that they have like Worlds branded Alienware notebooks that you guys can potentially win. I've asked them to send me one of these wraps for my M15, so go check it out. By the way, you can check out alienware.com/Travis. It's in the description. Somebody just linked it in the chat, which I really appreciate. Kobe just got home. Blah. Kobe just got home just now as I was completing this ad, and he likes Alienware too. You can check out all that over at alienware.com/Travis. Thanks so much to them for sponsoring the show. Mark, you want to get to the next caller?
Yar.
I think he already switched to the other Discord channel, so he didn't hear you. But I'll let him know. Also, I don't know if my mic activated for that because it's kind of sensitive. By the way, Mark, Kobe wanted me to tell you he said hi.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Oh, Mark says okay, cool. He didn't say hi back or anything. I just want you to. I just want you to do that. Rico is here. Rico, is that the way you pronounce it?
No, but I'll take it.
Okay. How do you pronounce it?
It's supposed to be Ryko. I put the H there, like Rhino. People get it, and no one does.
I'm sorry. Ryko, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from small town, Wisconsin.
Small town, Wisconsin. Is it actually called
It's
small
not
town?
named small town. No, it's just a small town.
You just don't want to be honest with me. You're like so many people I know.
Well, apparently you Google people's locations, so I don't want to,
What do you want to talk about on the show?
Well, my hot take is that G2 is overrated and SKT will win Worlds. Yeah.
All right. This is another dangerous topic. Mark's just trying to ruin our ratio.
I apologize to you fans.
I made him wait. He's one of the first people I pulled, and I kept him till 9. Okay.
Okay.
But I have a question for Mark that might be a little quick sidetrack if we could.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I wrote it down. So, Mark, do you think that keeping players on a roster and building faces that can be attached to the org as old ones leave and is better for the brand, like Bjerg and TSM building up Biofrost, for example, so on and so forth, For
You just,
example, I'm a big double
Trojan horse
Jensen
the
fan.
topic onto the show.
Yeah, wait, this is not like a quick. This is a totally separate.
He's like, my
thing.
take, this
Alright,
thing with
my bad,
Worlds,
my
but
bad.
my bigger question.
Well, I asked Travis this once on his one of the streams, and he kind of gave me like a whatever answer, and I was like, well, I need
That's
Mark.
all Travis can give.
Oh fuck.
So I want to know your take on that, but I guess we'll move on from there.
Yeah, maybe another time. Maybe in the off season. That's a good question. But
Well, on to G2 then. So I think that if we look back at MSI, right, and we look at if the status quo happened and IG won, or was in the finals, I should say, rather, or even won the whole thing against SKT, this whole EU being the greatest region BS would never have been the thing. And when I watched the games from Fnatic G2, and then I compared to like C9 TL, they just looked like the same kind of games, more or less, you know? So I don't think that G2 is this godly team, where I think if they're just the best in their region, much like how TL is and C9 is, and then obviously TL or G2 and Fnatic are in Europe. So I don't see them as like these juggernauts that are going to come into Worlds and just destroy everything.
So
They're very complacent.
I don't think they're complacent. I just think that if the status quo happened in MSI, we would not be having this conversation, right?
I don't know. There are some parts that I agree with what you're saying, and some I don't. Like the idea that if X thing just happened to MSI, but it didn't. Like they did beat SKT pretty handily twice in group stage, right? And then beat them as well in the best of 5. And you're talking about SKT being the best team in the tournament, but neither team changed that much. In terms of players at least. You can debate the meta and things like that, but like there's a lot of things there where I'm like, I don't think you can just hand wave and say, oh, if the status quo happened, it didn't for a reason.
But then you think that like, because I mean, IG just stomped everyone in that tournament, right?
Yeah, they were beating the crap out of people in group stage, and then had a really bad series against TL, and then went back and had a pretty rough summer split as well.
Right. So I guess and then when Race Rift Rivals happened, TL didn't do bad against G2, right? So
No, TL did pretty well. They did get their Sonateric both the times they beat G2, or just the once? Just the once, I think. And then they banned it the second time.
yeah, I remember the G2 coach being pretty upset with that. But
yeah.
I guess that's my point as to why I think that I think they'll make it out of groups, but I just look at other teams like RNG or Fun Plus or whatever beating them, and then the brackets aren't going to work out.
And here's one of the parts where I will agree with you is that Rift Rivals is a tough tournament to really determine what your takeaway should be based off how hard teams are trying. Apparently, C9 was dead and choking up blood, and they were the sickest team ever, and that's why they did bad, And TSM, we found out, wasn't even actually that good. So maybe NA is not as weak as we actually thought, and TL did okay. So, maybe that's the takeaway. Or maybe the takeaway is we're going to get shit on by EU because of Rift Rivals and what happened at MSI. And then, you can start working these because G2 struggled versus Fnatic, didn't look that great versus us, and they struggled versus SKT at MSI, and they were outdone in group stage. So if you take all the negatives of G2, I think you can start to discuss, like, maybe they really have some weaknesses that they need to be careful of here, because as great as they are not like this unbelievably dominant team that just smacks everyone down the way we've seen from SKT in the past at some of their international runs and stuff like that. So
right.
I'm with you a little bit on, like, I'm definitely one of the people on the, like, G2 are really good. I think if you want to make the case that they're the best team in the world and should be the favorites heading into the tournament, you've got a great case for that. But I'm definitely not one of the people who's like, they've got 5 the best players in the top 20 and they've got the best 3 in every role. And, like, I'm not quite fully on board with that. And I do think that they have some things to be worried about heading into the tournament.
Do we have an ESPN top 20 call?
No, we don't. I figured I'd boil it into this one to, just for simplicity, so we're not pulling so many G2.
Mark, remind me, who is number 1 on the ESPN top 20?
Good old Jankos. Good old Jankos.
I think they have the best 5 players maybe for, like, Europe, but if you compare the top 3 in Europe, which is Splice would be in there, right? and then we compare top 3, let's say Korea, Damwon, I think we all would agree, or even Griffin, either one, right? I think we all agree is light years ahead of Splice. So then you're comparing, okay, these two teams of EU are the best in their region, which you could argue then is a weaker region compared to Korea, which would then mean that.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole how good are G2's players argument is one that I find really weird, especially Jankos and his climbing of the rankings in the past year. And so to put this in a way that I think won't anger anyone, if you had to build a team, I brought this up.
I really like this comparison.
Alienware, on the Alienware Outposts, if you didn't see it, I'll say it again here. If you had to build a team, you're a European GM, okay? And you're picking only European players, and you have one player to pick. You get the first pick in the fantasy draft to start a team.
From any team, anywhere.
Any team in the LEC, any team anywhere even, right? Yeah, let's broaden it. Even though I think this answer would still hold true. You get to take one G2 player. Who do you take? You get to take even one player in the whole world. Let's start there before we work backwards. You get to take one player in the whole world. Who is the one person that you are taking to start your fantasy roster?
Double lift.
Is it Faker? Is it Perks? Is it Caps?
Kiwi Kid.
You're asking
That's
me?
a good answer.
No, is it? Yeah, I mean, like, who is it? Some people are saying Showmaker, Tarzan, Perks, Knight. Knight's a great answer. I love Knight.
Yeah, I mean,
no one's picking Jankos.
Right, I would agree. I think like Faker's
Yeah.
always picked based on his, like he's not going to crack under pressure or anything like that for sure.
I mean, he's been the best. He has gone and won so many goddamn Korean titles. Even if he's not the best player right now, like he's gonna bounce back. We have seen that Faker bounces back now a number of times. You know,
right?
2014, he's bounced back 1-2 more. Lost again in 2017, 18? 2017, they didn't make it in 18, right? Lost in 2017, didn't make it in 2018, bounces back. He's back at Worlds as the #1 seed. Like, I would take Faker. Are you fucking kidding me? And like, even if you ask me, like, just from European players or players on G2, you know, I wouldn't even have Jankos as my first pick if I was building a roster. And that's where I think some of these lists start to break down. Is like, if you take one line of logic of G2 is the best European team, Jankos had an incredible split. He is absolutely fucking amazing. And you could argue, you know, the MVP of the league. I don't dispute that. But when you're talking about best players in the world, you can't just use that line of logic of best player, that split on that team. You have to start looking at other things. And you start asking these other questions, and they start steering you very quickly away from Jankos, I think. So, I mean,
yeah, I would agree with that. That's fair.
So when you build a top 20 player list, you're not talking about some of these other factors. You're saying, like, this player in a like, that's the whole point of the list, you know, is to say, like, in a vacuum, this guy. And I think that's been a struggle with some of these things. I said both, Twitch chat. I said initially just take European players, and then I said, okay, take world players as well.
So who do you have making it the whole way?
Well, I mean, I haven't built the list yet, so like I wouldn't. Travis asked me this earlier, and I still didn't do it. Travis, why are you distracting me? Just posted an Onion article in our chat.
I went to Twitter to see if because sometimes I check and see if people are tweeting at me or whatever, and as I loaded the page, the very top thing was something that Data had retweeted that said, report 250 million Americans still need guests on their podcast this week, which was incredibly ironic given that Mark and I reached out to somebody who had previously said they'd be on the show, and then they didn't come through this week, and I'm just on a show with a podcast where we don't have a guest. I just thought it was insane. Sorry for derailing the conversation. It was just perfect timing.
Where's Kelby at?
Yeah.
I appreciate, Travis, you just dodging all this EU stuff because you just don't want to.
I mean, I will confidently say I don't think Jankos should be #1 on ESPN Top 20, but the value for a company like ESPN in those lists is in the fact that people talk about them, and there's like conversation. People go look at them to try to like. I'm not saying that the writers over there are intentionally trying to stir controversy, but this is working in exactly the way those lists are meant to work. So, I mean, it is what it is.
And a lot of the my stance on these kinds of things is like, if this is honestly, you know, your opinion, okay, but like you have to be ready for like the arguments that someone might raise to detract from it. You know, the way that you make your argument strong is by being able to like debate some of these other points. So if you're someone who wants to put Jankos #1 player in the world, if I ask, okay, you're starting a fantasy team, who do you pick from players attending Worlds? Okay, you can't take Knight, he's not there. Jankos then, right? Like that has to be your answer. Otherwise, I'm not sure what you're saying with your list. And it's the same way when people put like with Kelsey's list where she says G2 has 5 of the top players. They have a top player in every position, a top 3 player in every position, right? That team should win the tournament, and they should win it pretty easily, actually. If you legitimately have 5 of the best players in the top 20 and top in each of their positions, like that team should be Samsung White-esque. That team should be 2013 SKT-esque, right? Like they should smash. And so if you really believe G2 is that good, then that should be your prediction, if that's your player rankings. And of course, there's a little bit more behind it. Coaching staff, you know, how cohesive they are. But G2 is an extremely cohesive team from everything we've seen, right? Like this is not a team that is a super team that's being held back by the sum of its parts, right? And is a little lower than like what happened with SKT when they got Peanut and, you know, they tried to make a super team. And when other people have tried to make a super team and it failed, like this is a super team that worked. They work well.
Yeah,
right?
can you imagine the insanity if G2 doesn't make it out of groups?
Well, that's my point. Like, I think G2 is going to make it out. I think they're fine to be favorites of the tournament. They probably have what I would say 3 of the 3 players in the top 20 if I was going to make my list. But to put many more beyond that is starting to get into like Jordan-esque, you know, like Golden State Warriors level of like they better shit on things with how good they are. And like I don't think people are actually predicting that. Like when you ask people how good will G2 do, they're not saying we're going to shit on this tournament, despite them placing their players in the way that indicates that. And so that's my issue. Is more like there's this disalignment in like the hype that they're getting versus the predictions people are giving them.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see where Fnatic wound up on that list. If G2 was that good, where would Fnatic have been? You'd think they'd be second that they did that well against G2, but I digress.
Right. I mean, that's the other thing too. Is like, was Fnatic's team cohesion or drafting that nutty that it offsets this insane skill advantage that G2 seems to have? I mean, maybe they fucked up their draft really bad in game 1 in the finals, or at least in my opinion, they did. But like, anyways, that's where I'm kind of with you on this. I don't even know if it's fair to say overrated. I just feel like I'm getting 2 different stories when I read people's opinions about G2.
Maybe overhyped would be a better term.
But it's not even like, it's like the team isn't getting overhyped. I don't see people saying G2 is easily the best team in the tournament, but then they rank their players in a way that says they should be. So like it's like I said, a misalignment of
Mark,
some of this
people say
stuff.
they're the best team in the world. I got yelled at for not agreeing with that.
Well, and on Reddit, the commenters are actually being more reasonable. When I go and look at these lists in the comments, like the European fans, especially the ones with the G2 flares, are the ones who are like, "Whoa, this looks crazy."
Really?
Yeah, I swear to God, the European fans are the most reasonable ones I see about their player ratings. And they'll say, you know, I think G2 is a favorite for the tournament, but they'll be like, why do we have so many players up here? Right? Like, it's actually, from what I've seen on Reddit comments, like it's always the guy with the G2 flare who is like, what?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm getting such mixed signals and where I'm confused, because I would think it should be like, yeah, the G2 flare guy being like, fuck yeah, we got the best 5 players in each position, but it's not them. Which is why I'm like, where is this coming from?
Yeah, TSM back in a right.
Hey, Raiko, anything you want to
Yes.
say before we move on to the next caller?
No, thank you for bringing me on so early, and I got Mark. One of these times you ask that question for me.
We'll have you on when we have some more downtime, and you can ask Mark that question.
Appreciate it.
Thanks. Have a good one.
Thank you.
All right, moving on.
You think? I don't know. Whatever.
What?
Nothing. I was gonna ask your thoughts on it, but then I was like, well, whatever.
Yeah, who cares about Travis's thoughts as he leaves the channel? No one does. I'm just all alone in the world. Unique Echoes, Techno Weeb, Scrapjack, Gaming Orange. Oh, I already said Burnt Cooter. Trolling iFun, Hype Love Shack, Nanuko 111, Rebelcom, 20 months in a row, Laziness, Wrist Nubs Gaming, Ryu Kurai.
That's one you pulled. Yeah.
Sir Funk Nut. Pipiopi is here. Pipiopi, where are you calling from?
Hey, calling from Los Angeles.
Los Angeles. Whereabouts in LA?
Actually, Sawtelle and National.
Oh, jeez.
So I'm like
do you work,
1 mile.
Do you
from
work
the
at
LCS
Riot?
Studio. I go to a lot of the games actually.
Okay.
Which is awesome. Yeah.
Nice. That's funny. You are right there. What do you want to wait? There's a McDonald's on Sawtelle and National, isn't it?
I'm in that. Yeah, I'm right near there.
Okay.
Yeah.
You live really close to Brodin. Maybe I just doxed Brodin. Anyway, what do you want to talk about on the show?
Give the full address now.
I know. I stopped myself. Yeah, my take was that I've been to the games a lot, and I just kind of anecdotally kind of watching a lot of the players come and go. I've been watching since season 1, and my take was that veteran league players that have kind of missed more than once, kind of missed worlds more than once in a row, have technically kind of ended their careers moving forward. So kind of Bjergsen being a huge example. I don't think that that's going to happen to him because he seems to be kind of statistically an outlier, so to speak. But for all these other players, just seems like once you miss twice, kind of ends your career because playing at a world's level at least once a year just kind of skyrockets your skill level. And I've been a national ranked chess player for a long time, and if you stop playing for like a year or two, or you like play at a lower like quote unquote elo for a while, if you try and get back into it, it's really, really difficult. So my take is just kind of any players that are going to miss twice. Faker kind of missed once and he came back like super strong, so that doesn't apply to him. But everybody else is just, there should be a serious warning sign, like demotion shield up for players 2 years that haven't gone.
National ranked chess. Hey, I've dabbled in an auto chess game called TFT. I can relate. Competed this weekend.
Yeah, you know what? I wish that
Cool
chess.
story, Hansel.
I
Not you,
wish
just
chess
Travis.
translated to TFT, but it absolutely doesn't. I'm terrible at that. So
Well, we all
I
have our
wish it
strengths.
did.
Yours is in
My work
chess, mine's in TFT. Okay, so getting into your topic though, missing with the few exceptions of like the greatest players like Faker, maybe Bjergsen.
Well, no, his rule doesn't even apply to Faker because Faker never missed 2 in a row.
Oh,
yeah,
good point.
Exactly.
So he's saying if you miss 2 in a row, you're probably done.
And I hate that because I've met Bjergsen like 3-4 times around LA. Like I live in the neighborhood. He's one of the most down to earth, amazing players I've ever met in my life. Like he's the nicest person ever. So I hate to like have to apply him to this rule. But
you should tell him
might
this
be
the next
kind of
time
like
you
a
see
false
him.
sign what's that?
You should tell him this the next time you see him.
I will, absolutely.
It's time to retire, bro.
Yeah. Just be like, you missed 2 in a row.
Like statistically, I'm like, Bjergsen, can you please prove me wrong? But yeah, I mean, he does apply kind of into the rule, and I'm really worried about that. But all these
Even
other players,
Uzi breaks. Uzi doesn't apply because he only missed once in 2015.
Exactly. Yeah. Like
Yeah,
I try to look up all these players, and I'm like, holy shit! Like this is pretty crazy.
I love this because I like when people can kind of formulate these rules and like we're not. I mean, if I can put words in your mouth, you're not saying like this is a causation thing. It's like, oh, once you miss 2 worlds and you're done, and that like because you missed twice, you are now done. But it's more of like a general principle that for some reason,
exactly,
people just can't bounce back on.
Well,
that
it gives
level.
people an attempt or like a challenge, right? Like even if it's just something you guys talk about on the broadcast, it's like, okay, well, this person has missed 2. Statistically, like this could be rough. Is this a chance to like turn it around?
Right, and even for like building a roster, like let's say hypothetically, this new rule. What is your name?
Pipiopi's theorem. I was about to call it something.
Yeah, the Pipiopi theorem, which basically says if you miss 2 worlds in a row, you're no longer a world's caliber player, right?
Yeah,
and that's maybe
true,
it's
pretty much.
If it holds true pretty much, and you're a roster builder, then if you're going to sign someone with worlds and you have worlds aspirations, you better have a good reason why you're signing them. People are saying Rookie has proved it wrong. Smithy has missed 2. Someday. When did
Hooney miss 2?
Hooney missed 2. So the people are coming up with a bunch of examples. Score? Did Score ever make it? I thought he just never made it until he finally did in 2018 or 17, whenever it was.
Yeah, Piglet missed 2 as well.
Well, he never bounced back. I mean, most of these examples, people are saying they made it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so people are saying Hooney didn't miss 2 in a row, though.
Yeah, he did. Didn't he?
He went in 2015, didn't go in 2016, then went in 2017.
Oh. It's true. He didn't miss 2 in a row.
Right. Yankos missed only 1. Score went in 2015. Okay, so Score missed 2. Peanut, I don't know. I'd have to dig into this more. It's an interesting idea because I also don't know how much I trust Twitch chat.
Yeah, exactly.
People are just throwing names out like Wolf, and I'm like, what? Wolf went for a string in the middle and then hasn't made it since. Like, are you saying that this applies to him or it doesn't apply? What is Twitch chat saying? It's an interesting idea though. I like when you can find these. Like when I was coaching, we had this thing where in season 5 we would try Barons at like 21 minutes pretty frequently. Like we'd win a fight and then be like, okay, it's past 20 minutes, let's go to Baron. But like just how the game was in that time, it was like really hard to do unless it was like a super clean ace and you're strong. And so like eventually we were kind of just like, listen, if it's 21 minutes, let's not do Baron unless like we're fucking 1,000,000% positive we can actually do it, right? And so like I like these kinds of general principles that seem to hold true. So I need to dig into it a little bit more.
I mean, you don't need to dig into it. You throw this at one of those stats people at Riot.
Right. Well, yeah, I could do that.
I need to dig into it by sending a text message.
I usually do my own research myself.
Next episode, I did some research, and it turns out, hey, Mark, just getting back. Oh, I mean, it turns out. Gotcha.
Jat missed 2. All right, chat. I do think it's interesting, though.
Yeah, like
I've never missed one.
I looked into it a lot, and I really just could not. Like, it's not 100% foolproof. I don't remember.
Right. I mean, there's exceptions to every rule. So if I find someone and they're like,
well, also the question would be, it would be interesting to find out who made it after 2, and then what does their performance look like when they did.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what if no one has ever made it out of groups after missing 2?
Yeah, right. and I mean, even if there are exceptions like Score, I've seen people seem pretty set that it happened with Score, right? The entire time, the reason people remembered Score was because they're like, oh, he's the best jungler in the world, but he can't make it to Worlds. And so he was someone who, like I was saying, even if you hold this general principle in your mind, sometimes you'll find a player and you're like, even if this applies to him, I'm going to ignore it. Score would be one of those guys. Every year, people are just like, Score is so good. Score is so good. Rookie is so good, you know? If people are saying Rookie, you know? Right? Like, there's definitely some people that I'd be like, yeah, even when I watch their domestic league, they're clearly one of the best players in their domestic league, and I would still build around them.
Yeah.
So like, I think even if you can find counterexamples, I bet a lot of them would be like a Score or a Rookie, where like even when they weren't attending, they were unquestionably one of the best in their role. So
exactly.
I'm glad you brought attention to this, and I'm gonna look into it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see if you can like put out that information, like some way, like if you just tweet that or something like that would be awesome. Because I've spent so many hours like actually delving into it, and like it's a pretty foolproof thing with the exceptions, obviously, like you said, but it's really interesting. So yeah, I'd love to hear like more about what Riot has to say about that. That'd be cool.
Pipiopi, thank you so much for calling in, and thanks for the take. I mean, rarely do we get something like this. Normally, people are just like, G2 are complacent, and then you've got takes like these. So thank you. So just kidding to our first caller, but Pipiopi, anything you want to say as we move on to the next caller?
So I actually I've had a gaming laptop for like 6 years, and I'm honestly not lying here. Like I just ended that computer. I just bought one of the M17 Alienware laptops, and I actually climbed from Gold 2 to like Platinum 3 because of FPS or whatever. So like I feel this is like terrible to say, but like it actually really helped my performance like in league. So I just wanted to say thank you to all the sponsors. I've been watching you guys for a long time, and I actually like decided to go with Alienware, which has been awesome. So and Mark, like you've been an amazing analyst for a really long time. Been watching you since you started. So just thanks for having me on the call. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Twitch chat going crazy right now, but actually it's really nice whenever you guys come on and say stuff like that. So thank you so much.
See, this is why I hate this, because look at this now. Like,
no, I know, but that's just Twitch chat being ridiculous. They know that you're not a paid actor. They know it's not an ad, and they know this is not a sellout situation. They just like to be.
They like memeing.
They like to. It's got all these folks. Let me put it this way, PPOP. I look at this Twitch chat and I see probably the most bland, generic human beings on the planet. And they have to figure out a way to make themselves interesting. So they're just like, I'll be edgy. I'll type #ad in the chat right now. And that will make me a more interesting human being. And so you don't have to worry about it, you know, because it's just people painting a smiley face onto their blank canvas of a head.
Yeah, I'm happy chilling in Plat 3, so they can believe me or not. It's fine.
Have a good one.
Yeah, thanks. Have a good night.
How's it go? How's it going?
What are you laughing at?
Twitch chat losing their mind. Oh. So funny. All right. Well, I think maybe we do one more and then we'll do our second break for the show.
Alrighty. You only got 2 more anyways, so.
I'm unsubbing. I'm unsubbing says the person who doesn't have a sub icon next to their name. That's so funny. I love it. All right. I love you, Twitch chat. I'm sorry. I know people always want the Twitch chat on the VOD, but you got to experience this stuff live. BD14LL, thank you for the Twitch Prime. Dander, thank you so much for joining us. Where are you calling from?
Hey, yeah, it's the. Oh, sorry. Let me mute the stream.
Sure.
I'm calling from the capital, New York.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Like New York.
No, like the capital of Albany, New York.
Oh,
yeah, I was about to say, was that a trick to see if Travis would bait on that? Because everyone always does that.
No.
Whatever. What do you want to talk about on the show?
Yeah, so my topic was pretty much that Sneaky had a way better season than everyone thinks, based on like some numbers that I pulled in a fantasy LCS bracket that I created. It shows that he had a way better split than everyone's memeing
Does
about.
Does this include postseason?
So it includes the entire split of a summer split.
So the 9 weeks of regular split, or does that include also the playoffs?
It includes playoffs as well.
Okay. Well, I'm excited. I thought that the Mark versus Sneaky rivalry.
Or no, actually, I'm sorry. It doesn't include playoffs.
Okay.
Yeah, it's only the 9 weeks. It includes the tiebreakers, is what I was getting confused over.
Mark?
Well, sorry. I was going to say, I think that's really important because time frame matters. Stats, especially when you only get 18 games of sample size, can fluctuate very quickly, especially in situations like what was happening in the bot lane, where you could have huge standard deviations of games where if someone plays Sonateric into you, you could potentially be at 50 CS, right? And it wildly fluctuates your numbers. So I will say, regardless of where this conversation goes, we had that talk on week 6 or week 7. So a little more than halfway through.
Yeah. And I mean, the way the spreadsheet works is like it gives players points for literally everything. So obviously, like kills is a big portion of it, but like people are only getting like 0.01 point per creep score, for example. So it's really mainly based on kills, deaths, assists, and turrets. Those are probably like your biggest money makers and your first bloods, stuff like that. So being that it mainly accounts for that, Sneaky ended up still being the top 3, just like looks like 40 points underneath Doublelift, and Doublelift was 2 behind Niski. Again, based on my spreadsheet.
Right. So one of the things I'll say is these kinds of like amalgamations of statistics that people tend to do, especially in League of Legends, are a little bit problematic because of how interconnected the game is. One thing that's nice about traditional sports is that there is what I've always called an object of interest. There's a puck, there's a ball, there's one thing that one person has at a single time that helps remove some of this variability and confluence of all these different factors going on in League of Legends. Like there's a draft phase, there's all these different things that matter. Whereas in basketball, when you want to break down how good a player is at shooting, there's a specific spot on the court they shoot at, and then there's a specific way of determining if you think that the shot was contested or not. If someone was closing out on you, if it was contested, or if it was wide open look. And like when people do really detailed analysis of these kinds of things, they are able to, in a lot of ways, standardize what they're talking about when they're saying how good a player is shooting and things like that. League doesn't have that, right? Like, I mean, I work with the stats team. I know how good our stats are, and if we're being honest, our stats are kind of shit compared to traditional sports. And we try to do our best, and I think we do a good job. But when you start trying to boil it down into a single number and you're not keeping them spread out, you run into a lot of problems. Is what I've noticed.
I mean, sorry,
go ahead.
I was gonna just say, like, I definitely agree with you. Like, the take isn't exactly saying that Sneaky's like the best still or ever or anything. It's more just saying that his split, he still put up numbers, because you have to remember everyone on this spreadsheet. I mean, I have all 100+ players on the spreadsheet, and every single person got ranked the same way. So the same biases will go towards everybody. So the fact that he is still the top 5, it does say a little something,
No, kind of.
Yeah.
If the problem League of Legends has at its core with statistical analysis is that it is heavily biased towards winning.
True. Yeah.
In basketball, if I shoot a 3-pointer and I hit it 40% of the time while I'm open, it doesn't. I mean, yes, it will if you really want to get into like player psychology and things like that. It does sort of matter. But in League of Legends, if you're on a losing team, your stats are usually dog shit. It's very hard to have good stats unless you're playing like a KDA player on a losing team. And that's one of the problems that you run into with situations when you start digging into players on the second best teams in the league, like a Sneaky situation, is that it's going to be pretty good no matter what. If you just start taking raw totals, they're going to be pretty good. And I'm not saying Sneaky's a KDA player. I'm saying that he's playing on the second best team, and League is a game that statistically will heavily favor teams that are winning. And especially, like I said, if you take into the whole season, Sneaky's stats actually had a big uptick after the acquisition of Deftly. He actually started having a lot better laning phases and things like that. So I back then pulled stats and screenshotted them in the case I ever made a video or talked about it. That kind of went into this, and he actually had a lot of, and like I said, these things like draft matter a lot and influence it. But he did have a number of pretty poor stats around week 7 and 6, or whenever I pulled these. I don't have the date time stamped, unfortunately. But it's kind of he was the lowest in goal difference at 15. He was amongst the lowest at CSD at 15. He was the lowest or second lowest at XP differential at 15. He was like 3rd in deaths, I think, at 15. He had a lot of really poor individual statistics. And to be fair, the criticism that people were throwing at Sneaky for the most part was not that he was bad. It was that he was having, by his own standards, a worse split. Not that he was objectively just bad. So if you start pulling in like team fight statistics and things like that, he does a lot better. His DPM was always really good. Things like his kill percentage was usually pretty good. there was a lot of things that were good in his favor. He didn't get a high gold share percentage. So, he was putting out these good team fight numbers in situations where it wasn't like he was force fed in the early game, like which is what kind of happens with Double Lift, right? So I do think Sneaky had a better split towards the end. I think he was never bad by any means, but I would still stand by my initial standpoint.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, I can actually add to, because looking at my week 8 versus week 9 for him, he split time with Deathly and earned like 23 points. And then week 9, he got all time to himself and he earned 68. So it definitely picked it up and did not want.
What would you say is average for a player?
Yeah. So average points for players is 31, or 31, and then average points per team is 23. So 68 was pretty high.
Okay.
Yeah. So he definitely kicked it up in week 9. And
It'd
then
be interesting
obviously
to see what his playoffs performance was.
Yeah, I didn't.
That would give us a better indicator of his strength going into Worlds.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he picked it up a lot. If he has a little bit of the impact syndrome, where historically at least impact was a bit of a problem in regular seasons, but always picked it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Word of the day.
Yeah. I mean, if Sneaky's thing is like, yeah, maybe middle of the split, my stats weren't great, like whatever, because he's gonna perform when it matters.
Right. I think that's like what it boils down to for me, is I do think that he's still gonna have a good performance in Worlds. So I think that it was just a little over exaggerated.
I chalk it up to Mark Z's pep talk. Mark Z, he watched Mark Z on Hotline League, and then he was like, "It's time to show this guy what I can do."
Oh yeah. Okay. So you think Mark Z really lit the fire?
Yeah.
For that 1 week.
It was 2. I swear. I think it was after week 6 or week 7 we had this conversation. I can't remember which one.
Yeah, it was a little while ago. Yeah.
Thank you for the really interesting stats topic. I really appreciate that, Dandor.
I did want to hit you guys with one more really interesting one. So, I told you that the average points per player was 31. Mike Young earned an impressive 1 point for his team on week 7.
Wait, what?
So take it how you will. The guy's a legend, though. He played since week 5 and he earned a whole 59 points for his team. I mean, that's godly.
I don't know what I find more offensive, the 1 point or the fact that Mark just sprayed his cat with a water bottle.
I sprayed the kitten for attacking this one's tail. We're trying to teach him that just this cat's tail is not a plaything. It's not a toy.
You're going to get a lot of tweets this week about how you're not supposed to spray the cat with water or something, or that's not the correct way to do it or something.
I know people are like, it doesn't work that well and it just frustrates them. And I'm like, well, it stops them from biting my current cat's tail.
People are comparing you to another prominent streamer who had a cat incident in Twitch chat.
Look at how happy my cats are. Look at this. Look at this.
Dander, anything you want to say before we move on to the next caller?
Thanks Alienware for keeping our boy Travis fed. Without you, he'd probably be malnourished. So appreciate it.
It would be.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
so much for the call.
Yeah, have a good night.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. Speaking of sponsors, for us to talk a little bit about Movement, our second partner break of the show. So Movement makes incredible watches, sunglasses, glasses, blue light filter glasses, some cool jewelry. You can go check them out over at movementmvmt.com/Travis. You get 15% off. Let me see if I can go ahead and pull that page up on the screen. But they are a company based out of Los Angeles, which is one of the things that I really enjoy about working with them. You get a chance to work with a company just based out of backyard here. I think their offices are in Venice. Oh yeah, once again the XSplit doesn't like loading a browser page for some reason, but you can see some of their products on the page right now. They've got some really cool stuff, men's, women's stuff as well. You can take a look at, they've got a section on here about their story. Their eyewear, their Ever Scroll glasses. That's the blue filter glasses to help you. Actually, Linus Tech Tips recently did a video. I believe it was recent. Maybe it was a little while back about blue light that you get from monitors and how it can affect your sleep patterns. And these glasses are designed, according to Movement, to help with that. Watches are fantastic as well. Know that we need to get Mark his working on it right now. But also Steve recently bought one while he was watching the show. They have a new line, I believe, that just recently hit as well on the watch stuff. You guys can go check all that out over at mvmt.com/Travis. We really appreciate their support of the show. They sponsor some of my other content as well. And it's always really cool whenever we have a sponsor come in to support the show. Because guess what? It's going to be really expensive to go to Worlds. Because Europe is not as cheap as Asia. And I'm really happy that I can do that. All right. I think we're ready for the last caller. If Mark wants to go.
All righty. Let's go and do it.
Really quickly, a couple of shout outs to some subs. Thank you to Ryukurai, Wristnubs Gaming, Laziness, Rebelcom, Sir Funknut, Anonymous gifted a sub, and also a sub to Michael Firehammer, Purple Ray Q, Jimmy Boombox, I am Elvis 4, King X Canuck, I am Nucleus, Thick Cat, Camouflage 98, P4D 14, Impossible Katana, Dark King 582, and Boater Michael. All cut up in subs. Oh, and Qualiford, thank you for the sub. If you're watching the VOD, go over to twitch.tv/Travis Gafford. You can throw your Prime at me, and that'd be super helpful. I see Marcus trying to get I think they're having some audio issues maybe in the waiting room. But as we're heading into Worlds, I'm going to be streaming a little bit more. I'm probably going to try to stream similar to what I did in Worlds last year out of Korea. I'll try to stream during the trip if the hotel internet keeps up. Maybe we'll talk about the games after I get back to the room every night. And that's always been kind of fun. But there should be more content on the stream. By the way, with both the Alienware and the Movement link, we'll be having those in the YouTube description if you're watching the VOD. Wix Wiki is here. Wix Wiki, where are you calling from?
I'm from Tacoma, Washington.
Tacoma, Washington. I'm going to turn you up just a bit. How's Tacoma, Washington?
It's actually pretty sunny right now. It's not rainy as it usually is up in
That's shocking because it is 9:38 p.m. in Tacoma, Washington, and I would not expect the sun to be out.
Yeah, no. So it's just a weird little space in North America where we get sun all day.
Wow. Well, I mean, I assume all day, but all night as well, apparently.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wiki, what do you want to talk about on the show? Also, Mark, if your cat's gone, can you fix your camera?
Yeah, I forgot. You don't want to just watch him run around the back?
I mean, it was mostly your chest.
Yeah, I changed it now, though. Here we go.
Okay, the smallest pixel is his head right now. Oh, Wix, I'm sorry. Mark's unprofessional. What do you want to talk about on the show?
I believe Thorin is undervalued in the community, and like with the breakup of the Loco podcast, and probably like limits his influence on the League of Legends scenes as a whole because he's not really doing anything else. He just like his CS:GO stuff and the Loco podcast. So I mean, without him in the scene, it's gonna hurt the scene as a whole.
Well, so I saw his tweet earlier. Let's see, where was it? Because I saw Carlos replied to it. But he was talking about he was saying that it's just canceled for Worlds. He didn't say that he was completely done with it. I don't know if it's dead.
Yeah, but I mean, Thorin is a pretty, I think, decisive person. So I mean, he usually gets what he wants, or he just doesn't want to do it at all. Like he's pretty that way in like CS:GO, where he won't go to Poland. So,
right.
I mean, I don't think he's getting back with Loco.
I mean, but he didn't say it like. I mean, his Twitter account literally says just cancel for Worlds. I feel like if it was done, he'd say canceled.
I don't know. Maybe it's
either way, not having it for Worlds, you could argue, is still the caller's point. Yeah, that we're missing something.
I mean, I feel like you get everything you need from the other League of Legends podcast.
Yeah, the dive is really
The dive is impeccable.
Especially the Dive-Foria collabs they always do.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know. I kind of agree. I like when there's just more people talking about things because it's kind of like I don't know the word for it. If I was smarter, like the momentum thing. Like once you get momentum going, it helps a lot to have more people to talk about things. Like we talked a lot today about world's rankings, which came from other analysts talking, which then perpetuates us with something to talk about, and then someone else can talk about another topic. Not having other people doing, especially like the lower to the ground ones like this and Loco's podcast, where people are kind of more down to just say shit, does lose some of the momentum, where it's like a curated list of people talking or having predefined things, you know?
Yeah, excuse me, my take on this stuff. So a lot of people, I think, try to, how to put this? Okay, so when I first started doing esports content, I would be very territorial whenever other people started doing competing esports content, because I obviously was like, hey, like I'm a bit of a competitive person, as we saw at the Twitch Rivals TFT tournament this past weekend. And I would feel like the sense of competition and perhaps like frustration or annoyance that these other people were creating this content. But then after a couple of years, what I started to realize was it's actually really good, because there's a lot of people who will not like Hotline League. I mean, quite frankly, why would anyone? And so for the people who
don't like cats, the appeal of Hotline League drops dramatically.
Yeah. You're a dog person, this is not the podcast for you. But you know, more apt though, or more honestly, like Mark and I have this kind of casual American vibe on the show. We're very LCS centric, and the show has got weird takes. You know, like sometimes people comment and they're like, I can't watch the show this week because I just disagree with too many of the callers, right? Like if you don't like hearing wild takes or different stuff or whatever, like this is not the show for you. And if you want like something that's more combative, then Listen Loco is probably it. I mean, you got two of the most unique esports personalities on that show together, right? And they do a pretty good job, a better job than us, of grabbing guests, as evidenced by the black hole in the middle of the screen. So my point is, like, I actually think it's good when there is content that is out there competing, because rarely is it actually competing. Like the people who don't want to watch Hotline League, now instead of coming to my Twitch chat or my YouTube comments and bitching about it and how they want me to do something different, or they don't like my hairstyle, or they don't like Mark's cat.
That's a valid one.
You know, like they go watch Listen Loco. And so whenever Listen Loco doesn't exist, it's like, great, now those people will come here and they'll complain because they want to hear an angry British person make fun of a really unique personality in esports, and like we're not going to have that. So you know, I think that's the unfortunate thing whenever some of the competing content goes away.
Yeah, that's definitely a downside. And then the whole word of the day today, complacency, also arrives. I think other podcasts start to get more complacent because they're not putting as much production value in.
Oh, don't worry, we're gonna get complacent no matter what over here.
I think the disappointing thing for Duncan is that he's letting people get to him. You know, like I've actually been kind of like, people are like, oh, Travis keeps complaining about the dislikes. I do it because I think it's funny. Like I find it funny that we say something that disagrees about the G2 thing and a bunch of people dislike it. I mean, obviously I would prefer they don't do that because it fucks with my YouTube algorithm. But like at this point in time, like I just don't care. Like people at the start of my career said he's only here because of Double Lift, or because other people haven't come in, or the real professionals haven't shown up, or like the esports stuff isn't like, no, we're gonna, like, people will dislike it, and then next week Mark and I will do another episode, and people can dislike that or they can't, whatever, you know. And so I think it's unfortunate that for Thorin, at least in this tweet, he seems to be blaming the Fnatic and TSM fans. Like, who cares? Just do the show, you know. Like,
Well, I mean,
don't let them get to you.
At least from the clip we saw too, like it does feel like it was partially on or like not on Loco, but like it was a Loco Thorin conflict as well, not just like a fan thing. Maybe, you know, I'm sure it was a bunch of things adding up.
Yeah.
There's plenty of times where I'm like, I wouldn't do this show if Travis didn't pay me, because I hate Travis. But here I am every week.
That's true. And I sometimes think I wouldn't do this show if I had anything better to do, but I don't. And so here we are every week.
So here's the other thing I'll say. In that comment, or in the tweet from Thorin, Monty replied, right? Where is this? Listen Loco's canceled for Worlds. Monty says, bummer, what am I going to watch in the OWL off season now? And then someone replies, I think the show you're going to defo be hyped to see is Summoning Insight Worlds Edition. And then Monty said, sounds like an interesting idea. Tinfoil hat. I don't have a tinfoil hat, so this is going to do. I should get one of these in general. I need a tinfoil hat for whenever I'm about to say some.
Loco got cut out.
Or he was in on it and it was all just an act, because it came at the end of the show after they finished recording, so like the guest didn't feel like he wasted his time, right? So they have this blow up. It's the last Listen Loco, creates a bunch of controversy, hopefully. So then when Thorin returns with Monte Cristo, it's hype AF for Worlds.
You're thinking on like a 4D chess plane right now.
I got my tinfoil hat on.
Oh, apparently there was some really bad acting.
Oh, was there acting? So it actually is? Where did someone say bad acting?
Somebody in Twitch chat said Loco said there was really bad acting, or somebody said Loco's chat even said it was bad acting, so I'd believe it.
Okay, because I only saw like the little clip. Huh. Yeah, maybe. And then he just blamed the Fnatic and TSM fans because he likes doing that, and that's another inside move play.
Well, there you go. Now I don't have to deal with the Listen Loco fans all coming to my show and complaining that I am not the person they want me to be.
I mean, you do have the freshest style out of like anyone in the scene, so.
Thank you. I try. Wiki, is there anything you want to say as we wrap up the show?
Shout out Alienware, shout out Movement, and shout out Jack in the Box. I know that was last week, but love Jack in the Box.
Well, we have another, maybe I shouldn't say this, but we have one little extra video that we're going to be doing for them, releasing soon, so keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
All right.
Excited for that.
That is the show. Wiki, I'm going to say goodbye to you, and then we're going to wrap it up.
Okay.
Have a good one. Mark, anything you want to plug? Anything you want to shout out here at the end?
Nope.
You're doing nothing?
Nope.
All right,
I'll have something for you after Worlds, but just for you, not for the people.
Thank you. That's the way I like it. I have a ton of content stuff I made at TwitchCon. The LPL stuff is hitting this week. Hopefully, a lot of it, including the video that you guys just saw, and that should be fun.
World starts in 3 days. Plans?
Yeah. World starts this week. I think it's not even 3 days. I think it's like 2.
Yeah, it starts Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
So
that's why we're trying to get the LPL stuff out tomorrow. I assume they're going to drop the World's Anthem tomorrow.
Yeah, I figure they're saving it for like uber hypeness.
Yeah.
What is 4? Is that 4 p.m. PST, or what is this time?
I'm assuming
What
it's
is it?
AM. I can't imagine it'd be PST. Because that would mean they'd be doing plans at like 1 a.m. 1 a.m. in Europe. To make sure that the NA audience is able to watch World's plans, we've decided to have everyone play at 1 in the morning in Europe.
Yeah, okay, 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Shit, boy, I'm going to have to mess up my sleep schedule all of a sudden.
Yes.
I'm going to have to make it to Europe really fast, I mean.
Yeah, Brodin and I are leaving on the 9th.
Did they do a big old esport tweet? A big old LOL esport, here's your casters? I saw the LEC kind of did their own.
So I have heard a rumor that they are not going to do that this year, and they're just letting everybody announce it.
Why?
Because I think that here's strategically the reason you would do that is because you don't like by putting it all out there, people can look at it and say, oh, Mark Z isn't here. I want Mark Z. Or other talent that might not be a part of it. But instead, if you just are like, oh, Papa Smithy, you can tweet it out yourself, then Papa Smithy gets like, hooray. Like everyone is only positive about the people when they announce it, and they don't notice the people who are missing.
That's true. Because a lot of times in those Reddit threads with the big dumps, it's like, this person isn't there or something, or like, oh my God, there's 4 NA play by or colors and 4 EU colors, you know, and where's Korea and yada yada yada.
Yes. Plus, we don't always know. The people who are on that list might like miss their alarm clock or something, and then.
Oh, come on. Low blows, Travis.
Is it?
I don't know.
Set 2 alarms. Worlds is important.
Don't sleep ever.
I'm gonna be there though. It's gonna be fun, and I'm looking forward to it. We have one more show before Worlds kicks off. It'll be. I don't think will plans be done by Monday.
Is it easier to sleep and get up for Worlds, or to stay up through it and sleep
I feel like
after?
it's always easier to stay up through something.
That's how I feel too, but
You could start tonight. You could hang out, stay up late, and start shifting. Go to sleep at like
when
3 or
would it
4.
most likely end? The last game is scheduled for 9 a.m. That sounds better, I think. Go to bed at like 10 a.m. and sleep until like 5. Right? That sounds better. That sounds better. I'm not going to get up at 4 a.m. You think I'm an 80-year-old?
That's the show.